Well, I'm John McNabb, and this is my wife Karen. And I was born and raised here close by, and I was raised just down the road here where my parents lived growing up. My wife is from Scottsdale, Arizona, and
we met at BYU when we were both going to school, and that was a great experience.
I had just returned home from serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and was home just a few days and went down to BYU and met my sweetheart just a few days later. And of course, over a period of time we got to know each other, and eventually we were married. That was in September, and then on we were married the next summer. So
in 1979.
In 1979.
I knew that he was a farm boy.
And she got right a hold of the farm life and has loved it ever since. We've raised our children on the farm, and
we have 10 children.
Out of the 10, we have 7 boys and 3 girls, and they have all grown up on the farm and all participated with running machinery particularly in the hayfield. We've had animals. They've all participated in raising animals, and it's just been a great experience. We also do most of our own mechanic work, and so we have some sons that work with us full time, and we do a lot of our own mechanic work.
They've gotten their education and they've come back, and it's been great.
Well, they learn responsibility, and when a job needs to be done, it needs to be done, and it needs to be done timely. And also I think that we learn there is no free lunch in life. Sometimes in life we hear a lot about free this and free that, but there's nothing free. It costs. And I think of the law of the harvest. We reap what we sow, or what we plant, and you learn that definitely on the farm, but it applies in about every aspect of life.
Oh, it does. And you know, we've always thought, we've had pigs through the years. The kids have had pig projects and other things that didn't have anything to do with FFA or 4-H, just to raise some money. And but we think about our livelihood here, and you know, we might think we raise crops, we raise pigs. No, we're raising children, and I think that has been the biggest benefit, is to have these projects and this lifestyle for them to be able to look back on and think of the values that are in the land, in our hearts, and it's been important.
I'll borrow a thought from my dad from years ago, but we can talk about farming and the crops that we have, but the best crop that we've ever raised are our children and grandchildren.
And it's not easy, just like farming. Raising children isn't easy either. You have your ups and your downs, and your droughts and your plenty times, and you know, it's just that's how it goes. Where John grew up here, and his father and his grandfather, it has a lot of meaning to us. Great-grandfather, yes, he came and homesteaded here.
My great-grandfather came in 1910 and homesteaded here, and then my grandfather, of course, in the early days they farmed with horses, and then machinery came around, and then my father, my father passed away earlier this year, and we miss him. All summer long I go around and doing the work and looking at the fields, and I think of him, and oftentimes I'm thinking, boy, I wish I could ask him this question or that question, and so we've missed him a lot. But he had a great life, and left a great legacy behind in our family and in the farm and other things that we do. And this is part of the old homestead, the land back here, and there used to be an old wooden house right over there. And then in 1914 is when they built the barn. And it's built on just wood timbers around the bottom. There's placed on rock for a foundation, just individual rock. And so the barn served as hay storage for the workhorses. This is where they were fed and housed, and then they had several milk cows that they milked here in the barn, and other animals have been kept here as well, cows and sheep and pigs, and over the years. In 2014, why, it was the 100-year anniversary for the barn, and it was looking pretty rough, and it came a time where we either need to restore it and get something going, or it was going to eventually it would be in ruin and fall, and eventually it would fall down. So we took quite a bit of time and effort to restore the barn in 2014 on its 100-year anniversary, and we painted it. It's about to do another paint job now, but the granddaughters of my dad and mom had the opportunity to climb up and repaint the WH on the barn.
Yes, he got a...
Tell them what the WH stands for.
The WH stands for William Harrison McNabb, and that was his brand when he homesteaded here and had some cows, and so that's what that is. But we had a we had a lift, and some of the granddaughters and I got to go up there too. We went up there and
repainted the WH.
WH, yeah, that was good.
Now it's become more of we fixed it up and cleaned it up, and we do little events and things here. So several years ago, we were up here farming in the field that was part of the old homestead, and one of the workers found this horseshoe out in the field, just laying in the soil. And my one relative that was working there, we looked at that and said, one of us said, my grandpa, we could take that to my grandpa, and he'd probably say he would know what horse that came from. And so sure enough, I took it to my grandpa, the old dirty horseshoe at the time, and he said, well, that's off old Chubb. And I said, well, now Grandpa,
right away,
he knew what, and I says, how do you know that? And he explained the way the horseshoe was worn, that it was off old Chubb. And so this is just kind of an old family memory that we have, and it used to be down at my house, but I brought it up to the barn and hung it here for a while. So it was an experience to talk to my grandpa about the old horses, and each time he would get choked. When he would talk about his old horses, he would get a little choked up, and he had Days and Doll were a team. Chubb worked by himself, but Days and Doll were a team, and Big Dan and Little Ann were a team. And old Ford pickup that my dad located years ago, probably in the late 60s. It was in Pocatello, and it was in really rough shape at the time, and then we fixed it up at that time, and it's just been kind of in the family since then. And when I was in high school, yeah, it's been so that was in the 70s, and
we've driven it in the parade.
We've driven it in parades and just have a good time with the family with it. It's hard to get going as a young person in farming because of the cost, but it's possible. It's like so many other ways of life. You start out from the bottom. You be willing to do whatever it is to do the cleanup work, do the chores. You start out with a little bit of equipment operation and learn how to repair it, and you stick with it, and eventually opportunities can come, but it requires a lot of commitment and a desire to be there. There are definitely things in life that financially are probably more appealing to people, but the way of life on a farm and the opportunity to work together and suffer the hard times and enjoy the good times together, they're great experiences and a great place to raise a family. I hope that our future generations will feel a responsibility to preserve the way of life, and we need to save and preserve our farmlands in this country. And it's a big concern of losing good farm ground, especially that with irrigation, and we need to be proactive about taking care of farming in the future.